could only see Chris's beard. Looks like he could be playing with ZZ Top.
I am the most interesting man in the world. That is what it is.
Dennis, for a bearded guy, you got to be proud of your pal Chris here for what he's got going on in the.
It is impressive
in the chops department.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I thought I'd try it out, and it came in all okay. It's not greasy or anything like that. It looks okay.
I'm sets
good with
the
it.
tone with whoever he runs into, whoever he interacts with, that he lets them know that he doesn't always drink beer, but when he does, he prefers Dos Equis.
Exactly.
It's just what he's going with. But it is Dennis Fuchs joining us here today, and Dennis, your old pal, you brought him the bearded wonder.
From Iowa.
From Iowa, Chris.
Well, you need to have the beard up here in Minnesota because it's so much colder up here. The beard keeps
free
the
insulation.
Face. Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
My wife and I were walking out of the store. We were at Bo Diddley's, and she walked out of the store, and she says, "Oh, it's so cold." And I'm like, "Well, if you'd grow one of these like this, your face wouldn't be so cold." And
I think you would eat those words if you actually wanted.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for, type of deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would be a good move.
Chris, Dennis was saying that we're going to start with Chris, if that's okay.
Yes.
Dennis was saying that you still, in your office, is still one is the loneliest number.
Oh, we were going to kick me in the head again now, huh? All right. Yes.
Hey, how's your finger since last time?
Yeah,
my fingers are great, but I didn't shut him in the door this time.
That a baby.
We have... We've hired Gary Borash, and Gary is the soil contact. So I'm not kind of a standalone office anymore in Waite Park, but we still do have we have 3 openings that are right now at least out. We have ones for soil con, and those are soil conservationists. There's 2 positions open for that, and then we have 1 opening for an agronomist, which is also has hit the market. So they are on USA Jobs if you're interested, and they're for recent grads. So kids who have graduated college in the last, I think that's 2 years. They can go back 2 years. So if you're a recent grad, there are actually positions available. We have listings for soil cons that are going to come open for seasoned folks, but they will be open for the public also, and those again will require 6 credits in soils and some credits in plants. I believe 6 in soils and 6 in plants, but we're still looking to fill those positions. I had one coming up from Texas, and about a couple weeks before he was supposed to show up, he said, I'm sorry, not coming up to Texas."
That was
not
a huge
coming up
bummer.
Yeah, that was because
we were excited to bring another person on the team, and that's happened several times.
It's happened probably about 6 times now that 6 or 7 times now that I've offered the position, and haven't moved.
Last second bail?
Yeah, last second bail, or just a straight no. They have accepted a position somewhere else.
Okay.
Because the agency has lots of positions open clear across the country. So as a college student, one of the nicest things about the job is not only we get to work with producers all the time, you have pretty much jobs opening all year long all across the country, including Puerto Rico, Alaska, Hawaii, and Guam. So there's lots and lots of opportunity for you to gain lots of different experiences anywhere in the country. There's an office just about in every county. If not, it's going to be really close to it in most states. So a lot of opportunities. So if you get bored easy or like to move around a lot, it's a really good job because you could be working in Minnesota 1 year and then move to Texas the next, and then move again in a couple years to Washington, and it's just like I said, it's really a great experience to be able to move all around, do whatever you want, do kind of what you want to do. Like if you're a grazer or, somebody who likes to do grazing or soils, you can see what it's like in the southeast, and then you can come up and go to the northwest and come back to the central. It's just a lot of opportunity to move around and gain that experience.
Chris, what an advantage too for someone young. And the room for growth, I mean, the potential at that position is probably through the roof.
Oh, absolutely, because with it being young and able to move around and not being settled, you can do a lot. You can go a lot of different places, and the upward mobility is unlimited. I started as a Pheasants Forever WAE, which is what the agency used to call, basically it was the Pathways program, but it's while actually employed.
WAE.
WAE, that's while actually employed, which was, I always thought was kind of funny because I was getting paid because I was employed.
Look at you.
So that's,
we're going to pay you because you're working here.
Yeah, I thought that was
what a novel concept. Yeah.
Very, very ironic. But the job was basically selling buffer strips. That was back when I first started. It was late 90s when the filter strip CRP program first came out, and that was my entire job. I came to work every day, and that was all I did. Was I worked with producers to establish filter strips, or buffers as they're called now, and along all of the waterways in southeast Iowa. And I literally had and most people may know or may not know, but I had a dot counter. You remember those?
Yes.
Dennis? We had dot counter, and you would lay that. Some of the younger kids won't know what an acetate is, but for the older generations, you know what an acetate is. We'd lay an acetate over the top of an aerial photo, and you'd photocopy that, and then you would dot count, and that the number of dots per area determined how many acres you had. So that was how it wasn't done computerized. You actually counted the dots inside of it, and then you would.
So that was a unit of measurement, basically.
Yeah.
A dot was an acre.
Yeah, no,
or
well,
5 acres or something.
Yeah,
like that?
there was.
Okay.
It was set up that that was the measurement that you would go through. So you'd go count all the dots.
What a fun day! Huh?
It was. I mean, it was so cool because it brought my son and myself together because I would do all the dots and do all the mathematical stuff.
All right, buddy, count the dots.
And no, well, he was too young to do that.
Oh, okay.
He was too young to, but he loved to color. And see, we didn't do computer. We didn't do all of our designs on computer. We do them now all on computer.
But it was a physical copy you had.
We had a physical paper copy, and he would sit next to me on the kitchen table with color pencils, and he would color in the buffer strip green, and I would dot count and put all the documentation in on the sheet, and then we'd fold them up and put them in an envelope and send them to the producer. That was how it was done.
He should have been while actually employed too.
He should have, but he was my child labor.
Yeah,
but,
well, he was earning his groceries that week, basically.
That is exactly he was earning his PlayStation. Was the way it was.
So where did these get sent to?
They got sent to the producers.
Okay, so a producer opens the envelope and goes, "Wow, Hogge's got like a great coloring system over there. Look at this, green, and the dots are very prominent."
Absolutely.
The last guy just counted dots. This one's all colored.
Absolutely.
But it has a tic-tac-toe board in the corner.
Yeah, but that's how I started with the agency. And one of the nice things, like it was mentioning, is you can start at the very bottom and you can work your way up all the way up into Washington, D.C. and national office and be like the branch chief or even the chief, because most people have that accessibility to do that. There's really the only thing that holds a person down is what they are willing to do.
Sure. And so all that info, all the openings, usajobs.gov.
Yep. All of them are available, usajobs.gov. And I know a lot of people who have gone there, they're like, oh my gosh, the application process is so difficult. It's so complicated. It really isn't once you get it started. And again, if you have questions or you have concerns, you can always send me an email or give me a phone call and I can help walk you through it. I'd even be willing to meet you and help you work through those things. We have a couple of conference rooms we can set up some time. I'm not adverse to meeting at a Starbucks or a Caribou, to discuss things if necessary, but more than happy to help anybody who's interested, really.
Sure.
Because it's really important for folks to get good jobs, good careers, especially in the field that they're excited about. And that's what we're looking for. Folks who are excited to really work with a producer in conservation. And that is what's important.
If someone were listening and wanted to directly get a hold of you, email, what would your email be?
Email would be christopher.hogue@usda.gov.
2 G's?
Yep, 2 G's.
2 G's, there you go.
2 G's, yep. And you can also find my contact information on the Soil and Water Conservation District Facebook page. You can also call the office at 320-251-7800.
Nailed it. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Bearded wonder today.
Yeah.
Got it going on.
So, yeah, you can always call there. You'll probably get Candace or Bonnie, but ask for me, and they'll be more than happy to get you connected with me.
There we go.
So not a problem.
A lot of opportunities there. And Dennis, what's fun about it is his Christmas party, that Secret Santa. It's just it's too predictable at the moment.
It'll get way more exciting with more people.
Yeah.
Well,
drawing your own name, getting old. Dennis?
Speaking of people, we successfully brought on a new person at the Stearns County Soil Water Conservation District.
Brought on somebody new.
Let him, don't brag right in front of touchdown dance right here. But anyway.
We got an awesome a new employee, Stephanie Hatzenbeeler. She was working for the community of Rochester. She is now the Stearns County Soil Water Conservation District Water Plan Coordinator. She'll be coordinating all of the water plans across the county, working with multiple partners. As you probably know, Kirby, that the state of Minnesota now is doing water planning not on a county basis, but on a watershed basis.
Okay.
So like the Sauk River includes partners of Pope, Todd, Douglas, and Stearns, and also the Sauk River Watershed District. So the SWCDs across those counties and the county commissioners. So the planning is a lot more intense, and also we're targeting our efforts with our landowners in the areas where we see the greatest need. So we're not able to always help everybody across the watershed. And she's helping us with our implementation team and conservation planning team, Mark Lefebvre and Greg Berg, and NRCS, identify these pockets across the watershed where we need to be working. She also is going to be assisting us with our community source water protection plans, our Minnesota Department of Ag groundwater protection rule, the DNR's Bonanza Valley groundwater quantity protection plan, and many others across the region. So we are excited to have her on our team, and we didn't have a lot of applicants for that job, and it is a tough market out there. I mean, there's just so many openings and just not enough people to take these jobs. And I do keep a job opportunity email distribution list for any job that I get. I forward to folks on this list, blind carbon copy, so nobody knows who's on it. So if any of the listeners would like to get on that and just to see what kind of jobs are out there in the soil and water conservation and related, these are diverse jobs across Minnesota, even the Midwest, even Washington, D.C., send me an email or give our office a call and ask to be added to that list. It's a great way to have job announcements come directly to your email folder in your computer.
You have 50 seconds to tell me the advantage of the state switching from county to watershed base. Is it so there's no boundaries where it's you kind of all for one for all type of deal? Quickly?
Yeah. So when you manage resources like the Sauk River watershed, we got the Sauk River chain of lakes that are a focal area, but a lot of the pollutants could be coming up by Lake Osakis. Sure. That's the headwaters of the whole watershed. So, focusing up in that area as a team, getting dollars out to those folks and other areas throughout the watershed is a better way to manage. But we're bringing in new partners, and it just takes a lot more coordination. And then, say you got a high priority project in Stearns and one in Todd, who gets the state funds to address that? So we got to score.
Sure.
Yeah, so we got a scoring and ranking process to make sure that we get those dollars to the most appropriate spot.
More to come with Dennis and Chris here on Partyline today. Partyline, back to Partyline here today as Partyline brought to you by Chiropractic Connection and Wimmer Opticians. Dennis and Chris joining us from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District. I guess I should also say he is with the watershed. You're the NSRC guy.
No, I am the NRCS guy.
See the acronyms again.
The Natural Resources Conservation Service.
There you go. You can see where Randy and I could get confused because there's a lot of them.
No,
you're not. No free lunch here.
SWCD, NRCS, two completely different entities, combinations of four letters. Yeah. So, no way to confuse the two.
We still have farmers that come in the office and want to visit with SCS or ASCS.
Oh, yeah. That's the old
I was going to say,
NRCS.
Is that a former? Okay.
Yeah, that's like back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I think we were called SCS. So, it's
should probably get that corrected, but
but really we work hard in the office to make it appear that there is no separation.
Good.
We have commingled our staff, so we have it set up that we have more specialized staff in certain areas of the office, and then we have our soil conservationists in an area of the office, and it doesn't matter who goes to the counter. The producer really wouldn't be able to tell an NRCS staff member compared to a Soil and Water Conservation District staff member, other than I don't have any staff in the office at this moment in time. But when I do, they could never tell the difference. It was just we were the office that provided conservation assistance to producers. So that was the way we wanted it.
Yeah, that uniform kind of front you have basically created. There's no boundaries when people come in. It's all for one for all.
Right. We have joint meetings and we do the workload together, so it's a great partnership.
Speaking of the office, we have had some farmers show up, landowners, at Marketplace Mall and want to come through the former atrium area to access our office. That is now Once Upon a Child. The north side of the building, the same side as where Pizza Ranch is, that side there. If you come in, you're going to be ending up in Once Upon a Child. You have to park on the south side of the building and go in door C.
I believe so, yes.
And our lease expires in 2025. We are currently exploring options with USDA and the county to identify a new spot. We can see already that parking on the south side is going to be limited, and when farmers come in to certify crops and acres or come into our office to request the technical assistance, it's going to be limited. And we just, this morning, Chris and I were jumping in the vehicle to head out to Albany, and some folks were walking across the parking lot. There's slippery areas. It's just not real good right now.
Yeah, folks need to be careful when they're walking in, and they need to walk in the south door. Don't come in the west door because there's no sidewalk along the west door, and you walk around that corner vehicle there, and you're like right into the alleyway, and somebody can be driving down there and not see you. But if you're coming into the office and you come off of 23, go through the arches between Pizza Ranch and Fresh Time, and then take a right, and it'll be that door on that south side of the building.
Right there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So to be co-located with USDA, we need to be within a certain mileage of the county seat, which is St. Cloud. So we can't get too far out, like Albany or Melrose or Paynesville or, Lake Henry. It just won't be conducive for us to continue to work together. And we really want to keep that partnership as much as possible, being co-located. I think our landowners really appreciate having the ability to work with Chris's staff and my staff and not knowing the difference of, which team we're on.
Sure.
And I think our county commissioners appreciate the landowners getting service like that. I know the SWCD board certainly likes that. So,
yeah, I have other offices where the Soil and Water Conservation District is separated, and it adds a bit of complexity and to basically communication and working with producers, because the Soil and Water Conservation District has some some programs available that they can utilize to provide assistance for a producer. And when they're co-located with us, that makes that communication and that process considerably easier for the producer. So it's a really beneficial partnership to stay in basically co-located in the same location to work together.
Yeah.
Proximity just helps out, it seems, having that.
Exactly. And I don't like to brag too much, but we are one of the most productive USDA service centers in the country.
Wow, I would never have thought he didn't like to brag.
I was going to say, okay.
When did that happen?
Is there a hole in your cheek from your tongue right now, trying to poke through there? But it's something to be proud of, though.
Yeah,
obviously.
I think it is awesome. It just shows that we got a great team and a great history, and our farmers trust us to deliver a product that's going to, protect our resources and sustain their crop production.
What have your landowners been thinking about the quote-unquote spring thus far?
Well, I don't think a lot of manure has been applied because of the amount of snow out in the fields, and now that we're going to have snowmelt. And applying manure during snowmelt is not very good for our resources. And I know farmers are going to be up against the wall. We're getting late, and they're going to try to empty out their buildings and where they have manure stored in the next few weeks so that they can incorporate it and utilize those nutrients. However, now the next week is going to be the worst time to apply manure, especially on sloping areas where we're going to see water move off of fields and into streams and into lakes. That's just going to provide a lot of nutrients for algae blooms down the road and other problems. So if you can hit areas that are flatter, where the way it looks right now, there isn't a lot of frost So we're hoping that a lot of the moisture soaks into the soil and you can use that during the growing season, and also all the nutrients will move with it too. So they would be available during the growing season. So it's a double-edged sword. Not only are you impacting downstream folks, but you're also losing valuable nutrients.
Okay.
And so you're going to have to purchase more fertilizer because you lost some of your nutrients that went with snowmelt. So this next week when we see temperatures in the 60s and it's not going to be freezing at night, it might not even be conducive to hauling manure, which would be good for the environment. And then hopefully we get some drier weather so you can apply that before planting and still utilize all those nutrients. And, the other thing is, we do work with farmers to provide storage. And Chris and I were talking that we've got stacking slabs that aren't being used as they were designed.
Sure.
We're seeing those facilities being used for equipment storage. We're seeing them used for forage storage, such as bales of hay or straw. That is not an appropriate use of those facilities. And if we continue to see that activity out there,
Going to ruin it for others. So that funding probably
exactly that opportunity.
That's our biggest concern, because we're starting to get some folks walking into the office or calling offices and making comments about driving by stacking slabs where there's equipment and there's bales stored on there, and they want to know why is that and why are we cost sharing on those kind of things, and what is our recourse. And of course we can't share that with anybody on those things, but they're starting to become more folks who are making comments, and if those comments continue, there could be things that need to change. And that's our biggest concern, is those changes. We really are looking forward. We really look to help the producers manage their manure so they can utilize it in a effective manner. And we don't have an issue so much as having the equipment stored there when it's not being utilized. But as you put more and more manure on the site, and you start putting it more on the stacking slab, then that equipment or the bales, they need to be moved off of it as you continue to fill it. It shouldn't be a complete storage. We've had some people that have wired electric to their stacking slab. I'm not sure why you would put electric to a stacking slab if you're stacking manure on it. So those are red flags to what's going on. So we're having a lot of folks walking in. It's the vision of the public that we're dealing with a lot of, and we really need to, those folks who have stacking slabs that the agency or they've done on their own, they need to manage and maintain those appropriately, because if not, the sizings may change. We may have to make them smaller so you're stacking more tightly, or there's not enough space to flex it like they're doing it. We may not put roofs on them anymore, because then you can't use it as a storage shed, that type of deal. I mean, there can be changes made that could affect the producer and the ability to manage the manure they have, because if you don't put a roof on the stacking slab, you're going to have to deal with a lot more water. There's a whole bunch more different issues. Yeah. So basically what we're saying is, if you have a stacking slab that you have, that I don't even care if the agency did it or not, but if you have one of those, you should be using them appropriately to store your manure, and that allows you to utilize the manure in the appropriate manner when it's best for the environment. So if you have things like we have now, where you're doing spring, you can hold that on. You have storage enough, and you can hold it on site for a little bit longer, and then utilize it when it's better to be putting it in the field. So you have
opened up a can of worms here.
Awesome.
We have a couple calls coming in.
This is what we want to do. We want to have this conversation, because I just want people to be aware that this is an issue, and it's creating a public vision of how things are being utilized, and the public plays a role in what we're doing when we provide cost assistance for producers.
This was kind of touched on by Dennis at the beginning, but I guess you guys can put a pin in this right away. Caller asked, what's going to happen to the farmers that took their manure stacking sheds and turned them into machine sheds? You basically said you have fear that the funding is going to be nipped, right?
There is possibility. Now, I don't make the decisions. As far as the totem pole, I'm underneath the ground as far as the totem pole on who makes decisions. But
hey, that's where the concrete goes.
Yeah, I'm probably below the concrete. But what we need to be careful with is the public vision of how they're being utilized. And if you're utilizing it as a tool shed or a machine shed, somebody's going to come driving by there and they're going to see that, and that's not being utilized correctly. So why are we providing cost assistance to a producer who is using it as a machine shed?
Yeah, exactly. And they're working on the Farm Bill right now. They're going to be looking at the dollar amounts and where they should be putting a limited amount of dollars. And if they see that there's a substantial amount of funding for conservation going toward stacking slabs that are then converted to machine sheds, that may not be an eligible practice in the future. So we just need to work together and making sure that we use these structures appropriately to address our resource concerns. And if you need a machine shed, do that outside of that.
Yeah, and again, it's important to be storing the manure and applying the manure correctly so we're utilizing those practices the way they're designed.
Yeah.
And that makes everybody happy, and then we don't have anything that we don't have any issues we're going to have to deal with.
So if your manure is in the stacking slab right now, it's safe. It's in a good dry spot. With the amount of snow melt, we're also going to see flooding. I got a feeling by next weekend, the Sauk River and other streams in the area are going to be jumping out of their banks and filling in the floodplains. So don't be applying manure in the floodplain areas. That's all going to get removed off the field, so you're basically losing all of your nutrients in those floodplain areas. And just watch out for those areas also. And we've got a lot of farmers that are, farm adjacent to streams and other areas that are going to be flooding this spring. We're hoping that the flooding is not quite as bad here in central Minnesota because we're definitely dry in a moderate drought coming up.
A caller is pulling a Babe Ruth here and predicting that there will be a growing problem this spring in fine and smooth fields from runoff and melting. The caller had a comment.
Yeah.
So that was their prediction.
That caller is spot on.
Probably.
Yeah. And we're hoping that, the frost is not deep, especially where we had a lot of snow cover, that some of the snow will infiltrate into the soil, reducing the amount of runoff. And we also have areas where we had wetlands that were basically dried up and low areas that were dried up. There was no water setting there. So there's an opportunity for surface storage where we can hold this water back before it enters. Now, if we do see erosion along streams or lakes and you're a listener that experiences those activities on your property, give us a call. We can come out and assist you and take a look at the problem. And if it's in one of our targeted areas, we can maybe even have some financial assistance to help address and stabilize that slope. Now, and for farmers, as you look out there across these fields with snow melt, you may identify areas where you've got erosion occurring, where soil's moving from this part of the field to this part of the field, reducing the productivity in one area and impacting the other area. There's things we can also work with you on crop residue management, crop rotation, and cover crops to address those resource concerns. So don't be afraid to give us a call, either before you get busy or after you get done planting, and we can set up a visit and address those resource concerns.
And that's where it's nice for you guys to have those resources with the landowners, because you can't be everywhere. You can't. Yeah. You'd love to be able to check on everything all the time, but you're not going to know this stuff maybe for a couple years until you got out and saw that, where if they're working it every day, seeing it every day, and noticing there's an issue coming up, that they can get a hold of you and get ahead of it.
That's a great point, Kirby. They are the eyes on the ground, the boots on the ground out there every day, seeing what's happening to their farmland or their lake lot or their land, and they can let us know. And if there's things that have happened because of the spring snowmelt or just this past winter or previous activity, just give us a call. We'll take a look.
Resource concerns such as erosion and stuff like that, it's so much easier to deal with it in the field. It's way cheaper, way easier than it is by the time it gets to the water. So when it gets to the Sauk River, it's way more expensive to get it dealt with. When it gets to the Mississippi, it exponentially grows. Yep. So the quicker we can get it, or the higher up in the watershed we can get it, the better off we're going to be, and the cheaper it's going to be for everybody involved.
Sure.
So that's kind of why we look for producers. If you have issues or you see concerns that are on your field, give the office a call. We have folks that can work with all types of different ways to address it, all the way from engineering, and we can put in structures, which is not required, all the way to basically management practices, going to no-till, cover crops, other types of management styles that would benefit and reduce erosion across the field.
We have Dennis and Chris with us here for about 5 more minutes from SWCD and NRCS. Where are you drinking beer at a convention in the next month? You got to have something, I'm sure. I bet he does, too. He's giggling and he looked at you.
Actually, the first week of May, I will be turkey hunting down in southeast Minnesota. So that'll be an opportunity to get a turkey and celebrate.
No, you don't have any conferences or any landowner meetings or anything like that at a local pub or establishment on the calendar right now?
No.
I find that hard to believe.
We do have an exhibit down at Becker at the Sherburne History Museum that's called We Are Water, but it's open for a time period, and it's not a specific date where I have to go down there. So it's opened on March 2nd, and that's going to be open until April 24th. And those hours are Tuesday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and then Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So this is a special exhibit. We worked with the Minnesota Humanities Center and lots of partners to recognize the fact that we have started a new watershed planning process for the Mississippi River St. Cloud, which includes Benton, Sherburne, Stearns, Wright, and Meeker counties. And this is kind of a kickoff with our planning process to have this exhibit, We Are Water. And I have checked this out. I was there for the kickoff session. It was held on March 2nd. And it is really cool. Kids would get a kick out of it, and parents would get a kick out of it. So if you get a chance to check it out, it's going to be there until April 24th. It really highlights the importance of water and why it means so much to us. Everything from irrigation to growing crops to recreating in it to drinking it. All of the stuff that we need water, and water is life. You know, that whole concept is illustrated there. So it's fun, it's interactive, and it'd be a great opportunity for residents in the area to check it out.
Sure. And those are great education experiences in getting local minds together as well, Dennis. Getting people to feed off each other a little bit.
Exactly. Hey, and you did mention, do I have any upcoming events that include beer? Any meetings?
Yeah.
Well, there is one.
See, I mean, and he looked at me like I was the crazy one here. Nice try, Fuchs. I'm on to you, buddy. You got to get up pretty early in the morning over there.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of Good Friday. It's going to be a Good Friday, and so. The upcoming event is actually outside of Stearns County. It's in Candy-Ohio County, and the Candy-Ohio SWCD is sponsoring this, and it's at the Goat Ridge Brewery in New London. Kirby, you been there?
I don't believe so.
What?
Good stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's a beautiful locale, too.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a neat little brewery right in New London along the creek.
Well, your stamp of approval is all I need. I'll have to get over there then.
And they've got a water testing clinic for nitrates. Nitrate is the most common contaminant we find in our drinking water. It comes from organic and fertilizer sources. So it could be a septic system or over-application of manure or anhydrous, the nitrogen fertilizers,
sure.
urea. Those types of things can increase the amount of nitrates in our drinking water supply, and it's also a health concern. So if it is over 10 part per million, it can really impact infants. And so that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure we do a good job with managing it. And if you don't know for sure where you're sitting at, this is an opportunity to take your water sample from your private well and bring it down to Goat Ridge Brewery from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Thursday, April 20th. So you can have your water tested for nitrates, and they'll have people there to help explain if it's over 10 what you need to do. And then you can enjoy a beer while you talk about your results that you got on your water test. It is just a fantastic opportunity to work together. And Candy-Ohio SWCD is a great partner. They're working on our project with the North Fork One Watershed One Plan, that planning area, which includes Paynesville, Regal, Bruton, Belgrade, all the way up to Glenwood. And that's a great partner. And they're going to test your water right on the spot, and they recommend you run your water for 10 minutes, collect a sample in a clean container with a lid, mark the container with your name and phone number, and bring it to the brewery for live testing from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Thursday, April 20th.
There we go. And you lied to me. You thought there was no beer and conversing around.
Yes.
And there was. 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I know, right?
You going?
I actually will not be able to make it. I have a conflict that night.
Okay.
I got another beer activity.
As far as excuses go, that's
it's
right
pretty
up
good,
there.
right?
Exactly. Chris, one more time. Any applicants want to get a hold of you? Of course, they could call the office and leave a voicemail with you or try to reach you. Yep. Or all that information, those job opportunities,
USAjobs.gov.
There it is. Lots of great information there. And an opportunity to work with Chris Hogge. I mean, why wouldn't you, right?
Absolutely.
What's not to love?
Do we have time for a plug?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want everybody to remember that it is springtime, folks, and we have lots of equipment moving around, acreages. We have lots of equipment moving around on the roads. That equipment is not moving as fast as it appears, so make sure you're driving carefully and safely, so slow her down a little bit on the roads. The other thing is, be sure you're tracking your children and grandchildren when you're moving equipment around on your acreage. Let's have a safe spring this year so we don't have anybody getting hurt.
Well said.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can't
point.
make time for that, that's I got to get a new job, right?
Absolutely.
Those are good things to pass along.
We want to keep our listeners.
Absolutely. That's a good way to look at it.
And the next generation of listeners, because that's usually what happens is we lose track of little ones and they're running around because they're so excited to be at grandpa's. And
he's got the farm. He's got the machinery out. Yeah,
they want to ride in the tractor, and
Yep.
the next thing you know, somebody falls or somebody gets hurt. So please, please, please be very careful. We don't want to have that making the news, folks. We want to have everybody safe, and we want everybody getting through the spring. We got a lot of fishing to do over the summertime.
Well said. That's Chris Hogge. That's Dennis Fuchs. Boys, nice work. Have a great Easter, okay?
Thanks, Kirby. You too.
There we go. That is Chris and Dennis joining me on Partyline today.